I think that the conference has been very successful because it has covered both what I call very, very high scientific level and very, very low basic knowledge diffusion mechanism. And it had different sector coverage, agriculture, health, environment. And these are all things which were easily mixed up together and which we thought towards the end we had this synergy brought about, and which is, I think, appropriate for such conferences. Poverty is not necessarily, or is not only limited to material things. And I said that if you look at it that way, then you would see that what Africa misses is probably food, is housing, and so forth. But I think if you look at poverty in the other context of knowledge accessibility, where you would say that people are poor from the mental point of view, from the dignity point of view, from the knowledge accessibility point of view, then you would see that Africa has got these two weaknesses. But I always feel that the weak link of knowledge accessibility is the most appropriate one to be tackled. And if it is tackled, we are certain that the material part, the physiological part of a human need, would easily be met by the human themselves, the human beings themselves. My observation is that this knowledge bit, this high pyramid level of innovation is not really being as much inculcated as the physiological needs, and I think that we need to address both of these things together. I think it's a particular problem of Africa because we had our own knowledge in Africa. Unfortunately, the knowledge we had, our forefathers and our grandfathers had, was not continued. It was not nourished to grow. We switched then to Western model of knowledge, Western education system. And the Western education system was not easily provided to everybody. Right. All right? So you cannot say that everybody in Africa can have a university degree. Or you cannot say that everybody in Tanzania will have a secondary education. And unfortunately also that the knowledge which was coming through education was seen as education-based knowledge. It was not seen as a human developmental knowledge. So the kids would learn something in school, but only for passing exams. It's not to live within their own environment with this. And that way, the knowledge which our forefathers had was not nurtured, and therefore we are losing it as well. At the same time, the education knowledge which we are getting is not going back to fulfill and solve our own problems. So we need to look at these things and fuse them together. And
do you think that situation is changing?
I don't see the situation changing in terms of going back and fusing the knowledge part to the education knowledge. And I think that many governments are not conscious of this. So many governments spend a lot of energy and efforts looking at solving immediate problems. But these problems are not going to go away unless society is really made knowledgeable to solve this problem once and for all. So you would find that where we feel that we need to have a road can be built, and that road can collapse in 6 years, and nobody can repair it again. So the element of the road is as if it's been implanted in a place to serve a certain purpose, and then after a time, that road collapses. The same goes to diseases. You find that diseases which we could have wiped out, diseases like cholera, diseases like malaria could be really reduced if people were knowledgeable on these diseases themselves. And then the solutions would be simpler solutions, where you would tell people to fill up a small collection of water, a dam somewhere to cover that up, a pond of water which mosquitoes breed on. But this is not done. People will rush to knowledge of what type of medicine has come up which is new for treating malaria. And it's very expensive. You know, so malaria keeps on going up, and people, it's like they encourage malaria to continue. I believe that knowledge is to be accessible in a communal form. You know, we cannot afford to have knowledge accessible on an individual sort of setting. And this is why I advocate the construction or the building up of what I call rural knowledge centers, you know, which can be built around a village, or they can be built around a certain district. And I think that if people came to this place, those who cannot afford to have their own television in their own houses, they can come to this communal area and they can watch a television or can watch a video which is being played around, which tries to discuss about their problem and tries to give suggestions on how they can solve the problem. I think this approach, if it is inculcated and then if it grows around communities, and if the community feel that this is a place where they can meet. And remember, the African society is communal-based all the time. So if you build around this, it becomes part and parcel of some place where they can go and access knowledge from there. But they can also sit there and contribute their knowledge as well. So we can tap their knowledge through there, and we can synthesize it, and we can see how we package it, and we can take it out again to other villages to be able to share with. And I think that's a good thing to be done. You know how many servers and how many portals and how many Google search you can make and get a lot of knowledge in it. And I know that this knowledge, which lots of Western people take for granted, is a knowledge which is completely missing in some areas. Of course, there will be a lot of knowledge to sift through, but I think that if we can train communities now to sift to the right knowledge which is appropriate to them, then we can have as much knowledge available to people as they would like to have.
And this is happening?
This is happening because I try this now in villages in Tanzania. I make small experiments in the village and I expose this knowledge. We show people how to navigate the internet and to look at the certain sites, which then they can pick knowledge. And the good thing with the internet is that you have also pictures, you know, which go into a lot of knowledge, you know. It's not necessarily the printed word. We have a lot of video clippings around which people can see, like in the National Geographic, you know. If you look through that, you get a lot of knowledge in that one. I don't think so. I think that it depends on the attitude of the trainer. If the trainer thinks that this is very sophisticated and very complicated and this guy will not understand, then it becomes difficult. If you look at it from a trainer who believes that this is a gadget which can be accessible to anybody, then it becomes easy. I've brought people from a village who have not seen a computer, yeah? And I put them in our laboratory in Dar es Salaam. And within 24 hours, you know, they were able to maneuver the keyboards and see how to go about it. So it has a lot of advantage in a sense that it might look difficult if you want it to go to a difficult angles, but it is also very simple. And the simplicity of that, the simplicity of a radio, the simplicity of a television. I mean, a radio is the most simplest equipment to switch on and often still to receive certain information which is appropriate, yes. It has the opportunities are there, it is up to us to grab them. The problem is that we're not grabbing them. The problem is that we talk of elements against the technology, saying you cannot introduce computers if you don't have electricity. But nobody says, how can we generate electricity? And we have one center in a college where we generate electricity through, you know, cow's manure, you know, and this manure it produces gas, and the gas makes a combustion and runs a generator, which then runs our computer laboratory with 20 computers. So there is electricity there. I have other places where we have a solar panel, right in a refugee camp where we have a solar panel, and the solar panel generate electricity to put through. So the question of saying we cannot introduce this technology in Africa because we don't have electricity is wrong. But at the same time, there is a question on whether we want to leapfrog. You know, we have a problem where sometimes we don't want to change the way we approach things. For example, in our education sector, the teaching in a classroom is based on a chalk and a blackboard and a teacher, all right? It's okay if you have enough number of teachers, but you cannot just continue saying, I don't have enough number of teachers, and your education level goes down, when actually the best teacher you have on mathematics could make a video recording of his maths class, and that video recording could be distributed to every school and have a television set in every school to have a look at this. Now, those are the things which we must explore. But look at it from a server point of view, having a computer server somewhere where all these materials are stored, and then making this material available online or offline, if you like, to produce CDs, and then these CDs are then sent to schools, and the schools will have very simple computers to run through. So the various audiovisual technologies which have developed this so far, they give us a lot of opportunity. In many cases, we think that they're very expensive. You know, I make a CD in Dar es Salaam for 500 shilling, which is less than $50. Now think of less than $50, which would have been material for teaching geography for first year in secondary school. Where would you get a book for $50? I don't believe also that the foreign aid should just buy computers and bring them. No. But I think that if we make a decision that we're going to have computers in every school, which we will use for distance education material or for CD-based material to teach our students, then, you know, we can contract countries to make material, or we could assemble. You know, I have friends in Dar es Salaam who assemble computers, and the cost does not exceed $300, you know, per each computer. But if I buy already an assembled computer, then it's $1,000. Now, if I make a decision that I would want to have computers assembled in Tanzania, then I do that, and then it's easier to have that. So I would not encourage foreign donations in terms of pouring in computers, but I would encourage creating a mechanism of having computers in Tanzania which are assembled locally, which some of them can even be built in the schools, assembled in the schools themselves. And then they use them for knowledge access, and produce content which can then be used through these computers, yes. We as Africans, we were able to interact with other scientists in the developed world who are looking at world problems in terms of energy. They are looking at world problems in terms of environment and health as well. But I felt that they also understood that we are also concerned on similar problems, but only that our problems are related to our own environment, and that they were appreciative that we have the problems, and we want to solve the problems. But we want to participate together to try and solve these problems. And this, for me, is a great success of this conference. I think that for a long time now, the policymakers have had this concept of helping Africa. But I think that for some time, the help has always been like an automatic thing. It's like, you know, a sausage coming out from the other end. That's the help, and that's the help, and that's help. I think that we need now to reconsider the help and to reorientate the help and say, is it better?
Target it better?
That's right. Yeah. Is it better now to help the Africans to help themselves, or is it just to help the Africans? And I think the time now to help the Africans to help themselves, the Africans to think of what are their problems, what are their basic needs, both physiological as well as non-physiological, mental-based, innovative-based, creating sustainable future for themselves, and then work around there. Okay, sometimes, of course, I try to get in touch with some donors to help us to look things from a knowledge perspective. I don't get much success because there is this element that no, you need more food, you need more schools, you need malaria tablets, you know. But we don't need malaria tablets. We might have malaria tablets which we will not swallow, and they might just stay in the store. We need to understand ourselves, our own problems. We need to understand on how we can come out of those problems. And when I say we, I don't mean me working in the city. I mean the people in the grassroots. I mean the people in the rural areas. They need to understand all these things. But also I want to say that listen to our genuine needs, but whose needs? We at the grassroots level. Don't listen to the top layer people. Don't listen necessarily to the elite class and think that you are listening to the problems of Africa. Try to listen from the ground. You know, we have a saying in Tanzania or in Africa that if you want to see horses running, you know, you don't have to see them by eye. You put your ear on the ground and listen to the noise, and you know the horses are coming. So people need to listen on the ground. They don't need to wait until they see the horses themselves. This, I think, is the message for me.